Good morning, East Jackson Church of the Nazarene and wider church family. This is Miss Sarah, and happy Mother's Day to all you mothers. Kids, I hope you're treating her well today. I know as a mother, my greatest wish is for my kids to not fight and to get along today. We're going to start this morning with a quick activity, and it is an estimation jar. So I've got a jar of something that I can no longer eat, and it is a jar of chocolate chips. I'm trying to see here whether you're getting a good view of it. So I'd like you to take a quick look at this and make an estimate. If you need to pause it, you can. I know my kids like to watch Odd Squad, and they've got all sorts of theories about what is the best way to make an estimate. I once won a jar of M&Ms because I knew exactly how many M&Ms were in a quarter of a cup, because that's how many we were able to eat as a family. That's how much a family of 5 was able to get out of a bag. All right, so go ahead and take an estimate there. Pause it if you like. My kids like to look at how many are in a layer and then estimate how many are up. Giving you guys way too many hints, aren't I? So take a good guess, pause if you like, discuss it as a family, get your estimate, and then come on back. All right, welcome back. Did you have your estimate? All right, are you ready for the big reveal? All right, drum roll, please. How many chocolate chips are in here? I don't know. There were way too many. I started counting and I just gave up because there were way too many in here. I just gave up. So I have absolutely no idea. Trick, wasn't it? But I got to tell you that this relates to our Bible story today. Curious now? I'm going to give you one more idea of what might have to do with our Bible story this morning. So last week we were talking about Noah and God's promise to him. This week also has to do with a promise of God, but it has one more element that last week's story did not. Take a look at these pictures that I pilfered off of Facebook last night. People that you should know, right? Any ideas there? Okay, remember that our Bible story has to do with God's promise, and what do all of these pictures have in common? Any idea? I will tell you, and then you can check your guess. It has to do with fathers and sons. So our Bible story this week has to do with a promise of God and fathers and sons. And sometimes when Miss Sarah has to tell a Bible story every single week, I kind of get tired of hearing my own voice. I don't know if you're there yet or not. So rather than me tell you the story this week, I'm going to have you listen to it through a video. So I'll see you back in just a couple of minutes. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan. So today I have a story to share with you. Are you ready? There was a guy named Abraham, and he had a wife named Sarah. Both of them wanted children more than anything, but they were very disappointed. They never had any. But little did Abraham know, God had a very special plan for him. When Abraham was 75 years old, God promised to give Abraham many sons and daughters. All God asked for was for Abraham and Sarah to leave their homes and to follow him. This is a very tough choice to make. They had to leave all their friends behind and just trust God. But the good news is they decided to trust God. That's always the right choice to do. So Abraham and Sarah moved out to a new land called Canaan. But after a while, they got really old, but they still had no children. God reminded Abraham of his promise. He told Abraham to look up to the sky and to count the stars, because that's the number of children God's gonna bless him with. That was God's way of telling Abraham that he would bless Abraham with a lot of children. So Abraham decided to keep believing in God. And so they waited again. Abraham was now 99 years old, but Sarah was still not pregnant. They have both given up on having kids and God's promise. However, God reminded them of His promises again and again. Just when they thought it was impossible, God kept His promise. After Abraham's 100th birthday, Sarah got pregnant. When the son was born, she named him Isaac, which means laughter. God kept His promise with Abraham and Sarah and gave them a son. Even though they don't think that it was possible, it was easy for God because God can do anything. Be like Abraham. Trust in God in all you do. Even when you're sad or when bad things happen, know that God is always there and He will keep His promises. Do you like the
Thanks for indulging me letting someone else tell the story this week. So the man telling the video talked about that God reminded Abraham and Sarah about His promise again and again. And one of those times that God reminded Abraham and Sarah about His promise was when Abraham was 99 years old. And three men actually came to Abraham's tent when he was camped out at Canaan. And two of those men were angels, and one was actually called the Son of God. People imagine that that was Jesus. And Abraham actually went and he killed an animal. I believe it was a goat from his flock, and he entertained those men, meaning he fed them a meal, and they sat down and they talked together. And during that time, God actually told Abraham that he was going to have a son. And Abraham laughed at him, and Sarah laughed as well, which is why Isaac's name is Isaac. Isaac means laughter. Just a constant reminder that God kept His promise, and Abraham and Sarah laughed. You know, that promise had been for 25 years before God kept His promise, and the timing was right for that. So let's do some I wonder statements. You can pause this if you like to, or you can just think and ponder. I may not give you enough think time in between. So I wonder how God felt when Abraham laughed. He was sitting right there beside him. I wonder how Abraham felt when God saw him laughing. I wonder why God made Abraham and Sarah wait so long for a son. 25 years to fulfill the promise. I wonder when you've had to wait, and maybe longer than having to wait for something to come in the mail. Or maybe that's the longest you've had to wait. Maybe it was for something exciting that was going to happen at school. Maybe it's waiting for this COVID stay home, stay safe order to happen. Maybe it's having to wait for an event to happen that you want your parents to take you to do. So I wonder, when you've had to wait, how did it make you feel? I wonder what Sarah and Abraham thought about as they were waiting for God to fulfill His promise. Did they doubt? And parents, here you can do some additional teaching if you'd like, because I know that there's much more to the Bible story about Abraham and Sarah. And if you'd like to fill in some of the gaps there, you can. Because Abraham and Sarah, Abraham specifically, both of them did doubt. And they did some actions that had long-lasting consequences because they doubted and they wanted to force God's hand during that time of doubt. I wonder, what are some things people ask God for today? Do you think God hears people? Do you think sometimes people doubt God or that He hears their prayers? Again, that idea of God fulfilling His promises and that He hears. Last week there was a slide about God's promises when we did the Noah Bible story. I know personally my family did not get to look up those scripture references, so I'm going to include it again if you'd like to look those up as a family. And I'm just going to display it here real briefly, knowing that you can pause and you can look those up. So here they are. I'd love to know if you took the time to look them up. And I'm also holding myself a little bit accountable to you as well, because like I said, we did not look those up last week. Some additional discussion questions or journal questions as well. Thinking about that whole entire Bible story, what words or images come to mind? What was really good in the Bible story and what was really sad? What does the story tell us about God? What does the story reflect about God and me? How does the story of God's covenant means promise, with Abraham connect to God's epic story today? And what do I want to remember and take with me? I've got a song for you, and then we will meet back together and we will go over the Bible verse. See you back in a little bit.
Is that what they say when I walk by? I've got a little more gray, my steps are slow and long, and the promise you've made fades in the moonlight. I see a star, you see the Milky Way. I see one man counting sand, but you see generations. Who but you would ever choose to dream your dream in me? Tell me who but you would dare me to believe what I can see. Who but
everybody.
All right, welcome back. So last week we saw God keeping his promise and rescuing Noah. The idea that he was going to start again with his creation, and people who would pursue him and love him. And this week we see him taking all of his creation. Time had passed, taking all of his creation and reaching down and plucking one man, Abraham, and his family, and saying, this is the man that I'm going to create a generation of people with, that I'm going to fulfill my promise to the whole entire world, to create a lasting covenant with, that I can save all of the world and all of mankind from the evil and the sin that entered the world through the Garden of Eden. And I'm going to build in that man faith and righteousness. And Abraham's faith was credited to him as righteousness. God promised him that he would be the father of many children and many generations. And in Hebrews it says that Abraham's faith was credited to him as righteousness. He didn't see all the stars in the skies. He did not get to see that many people. He didn't get to see the whole Jewish nation being built. He died only seeing one child being born. He didn't get to see the whole nation that God promised him. He believed God, and that was credited to him as righteousness. More to come next week. Our Bible verse is from Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 6. Say it with me, please. You alone are the Lord. You made the heavens, even the highest heavens, and all their starry host, the earth and all that is on it, the seas and all that is in them. You give life to everything, and the multitudes of heaven worship you. Nehemiah 9:6. I don't want to say it together or on your own this week. I'd like you to pause it here and try to say it on your own. It's been 4 weeks, and I'm hoping that some of you have that memorized. I really encourage you to get that far with it. Have an amazing week, and please treat your mothers well. Enjoy the day, and I will see you back again next week.